crew, you guys are doing an amazing job. The initiative couldn't have come up at a better time. I mean, seeing how COVID has transformed the work setting and every industry is affected. So it's a great job your team is doing. And to the guys graduating, congratulations. And I do hope that you make great strides in this time and maximize the season we're in, maximize your freelance work and everything you're doing. So, like she said, today I will be speaking on building a freelance niche for global relevance. And since we already know what freelancing is, I mean, we're basically in that space. I'll start by explaining a niche so that we can relate it to what we're doing. So basically, we could say a niche is a specialized segment of the market or an industry for a specific kind of product, solution, services, interests, that appeal to either a small crowd, a medium crowd, a large crowd, or a specialized section of the population. And since we are focusing on Africa, we would say if you're building a freelance niche, it simply means that you're becoming an expert, right? You're getting specifically focused and specialized in your chosen scope, in your chosen field, in your chosen topic or industry. So basically, the more focused and specialized you become, the more iconic you get. So it's a journey from a certain aspect or industry or part that eventually makes you become an icon. At this point, if we think about Bill Gates, the first thing we think about is Microsoft. So he has become an icon in that aspect. When we think about Steve Jobs, where the first thing that comes to our mind is the Apple logo. And so basically, this is the journey. You start from somewhere, you build your expertise, you focus on a certain subject or item, and to the point where it is that your name becomes synonymous with that item. And we have diverse industries and market in the community that we exist in Africa. For instance, there's financial industry, there is cryptocurrency, there's technology, there's digital marketing, there is software as a service, there is real estate. And so we have a bunch of options to play with as Africans, not just in the continent of Africa, but considering how work has gone remote and freelancers are top of mind for most organizations and most businesses. All of these industries are a great playing field for anyone who would want to explore. And I guess the next question you're probably asking is, how can we build it? So the first thing I will say is identify. And I'm going to try to bring all of my points to as simple an item as I possibly can. So when we think about the word identify, the first thing you need to do is to identify, excuse me, what industry you want to play in. I made a bunch of lists just now. And so let's assume that you are a marketing person and you have identified that you want you want to go into digital marketing, for instance. In that industry, you have a bunch of options. You could be specialized in a lot, but it could also be content, it could be visuals, it could be emailing, it could be SEO. So you first need to, after identifying your industry of choice, you then need to identify your competency. What are your skills? What are your abilities? What are you? For instance, if you are into marketing, for instance, and writing, are you a great wordsmith so that when someone needs to write content, you need the content, and then you can then transform what they gave to you with words to make it top notch? Or you are great with researches, you have your mind on figures and numbers, you're following the financial industry back to back. So the people don't even need to give you much content, they just give you the skeleton, and you can create huge resources from your reservoir. So you identify your competencies, and then you create your CV based on your competencies. So when you're sending in recommendations or reaching out to clients or setting up your profile, is going to be based on the industry that you're in, your specific competencies, and where you're focused in. And then the other thing you need to ask yourself under identifying is, do you want to create, recreate, or improve on an existing solution in the industry where you're focused on? And a typical illustration will be transportation and logistics as we know it. So the world started with what? Donkeys, and then we progressed to maybe camels, and then it became cars, and now we have airplanes. So to create, when we were using donkeys and camels, it was good. People probably weren't thinking about needing better vehicles. They just thought about having a more healthy animal and having it dressed with the best rug to make it look better and more posh. But someone came up with the idea of building a car. And then when the car came, we started depending on it. So something new was created to facilitate transportation in the transportation industry. And then somebody came up with electrical cars. So someone thought about recreating the existing solution in this existing industry. So someone also thought about the ease of traveling or the luxury of traveling, and someone brought the airplanes, someone brought the cruises and the ships. So in an industry, you can easily identify, do I want to create, recreate, or improve on an already existing solution? So these are the things I believe you would need to work on under identifying if you want to create a freelance niche relevant to today's market. And the next point I would make would be for you to stay on it. So we have a lot of situations where people start, and just because it's not yielding fruit, they drop out. I put up a content recently on Instagram, and I said, take out the Gen Z chip. And that's because a lot of people start and want the solution right away. There is no shortcut to success. There is no fast route to success. You need all the process. You need all the procedures. So if people are giving examples like Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, those guys didn't start on the day the world got to know them. They were building and working in their backyards, in their garages, and were putting things together until one day there was an opportunity or someone connected them with somebody who had a need and had the platform for them to, to be right at the forefront. So you need to stay on it. Now, when it's hard for you to stay on the course of building yourself to the through the process of becoming iconic, so that you've created a niche and people then identify you as an expert in a certain field and can make your name a synonym to that solution. If you feel like giving up and it's really hard, because entrepreneurship is hard, freelancing is hard. So when you feel like it's really hard, the one thing I need you to remember is the parable of a tree. You plant it, it doesn't grow in 5 years. It takes years for big trees to grow. And when they eventually get to that state of being a huge, mighty tree, they are monumental. And the third thing that I would put in there as what you need to do to create uh, to be to create a niche that's relevant is for you to develop or learn the language that speaks directly to your target audience and get fluent in it. And I'm saying this because most freelancers design the solution based on how they understand the problem, based on how they see the issue. That's not going to work in today's market. You need to design the solution based on how the client needs it. So if the client speaks a certain language, you need to learn the language of your target audience. I'm Nigerian, and in Nigeria, we have several tribes. So let's assume I'm from the East, and I want to tell, I have a huge solution that someone from the West needs. It's going to change the person's life forever. Now, the person does not speak English, and I don't speak English. So the person is sitting on that chair, and I'm sitting on this chair. And I'm here speaking my Eastern language, explaining my solution in the most absolutely succinct way to this Westerner in Nigeria. And the guy is looking at me like, and then he leaves and goes to meet somebody who doesn't have the level of solution that I have to solve his problem effectively. It's not the problem with my product. It's also not the problem with my communication or my language. The problem is I just did not learn the language of my target audience. And so if you're going to become relevant in your niche or whatever niche you want to get access to, you need to learn the language of your target audience. And you just also need to get fluent in it so that when they start speaking towards a certain direction, you're sensitive enough as well to go in that direction and flow with them. So that is another most important point to look at. Then the last, and I believe this is also the most important for me, is for you to focus on creating substantial impact on your clients' sales. And that is a solution most people don't think about. You know, when you want to pitch to people, we pitch from the perspective of price. So we're saying, I sell books, for instance, and the books cost 50 naira. That's a problem. So the angle you should be doing if you want to become relevant and you want to build a freelance niche for global relevance is for you to think about the profitability of the client. So if the client's definition of profits is how much views they can get, how do you pitch your product to facilitate the views that they can get? So that's the last thing. And I believe it's something most freelancers and business owners don't do. You present your pitch, you present your product, you present the pricing, and that's it. But we need to shift the perspective to the angle of the client. So what is the client's, why is this client looking for the solution that they're looking for? And what exactly do they need to achieve? Are they trying to increase sales? Are they trying to get their brand a new voice? Are they trying to create a new solution? And so if I can find the sales point of the client, then I can tailor my pitch to match the sales point. Because if you can succeed in helping your client hit their sales mark, they're going to come back to you. They are going to refer you to other people in the sphere that they know that need your business. So this is the easiest way for you to get more people to engage in your product. And this is irrespective. All of these things I just listed out is irrespective of your location. these things don't select your race, they don't select your continent. So if you can figure out how to impute all of this into your strategy, into your system, into your plan, you're definitely on a great step and on a great way on your journey to become relevant in whatever niche you decide to focus on. And so this is the end of my talk. And I would just say that everyone who is going out there, you are in the right spot and you are in the right time, because remote work is the buzzword now in the tech industry. People want people who can do freelance work and who can do it quickly. And guess what? The advantage you have as an African is the resilience. There is no continent in the world that can compete with you on the resilience. So if you think about the shortcomings and what we don't have in the continent, why education is a little bit poor, okay, there is no continent in the world that has the kind of resilience that Africans do have. I mean, if you're Nigerian and you go through the process of going through university with all that crowd in the class and the heat, and you still come out with great grades, or you have the power failure and the infrastructural problems, and you still have a career, and you're on sourcing business or any other platform where you're actually running a business of your own, honey, you're on your way already. You've already done at least 80% of the job. So feel free to stretch out and reach out. European market, the American market, they're hiring massively because they have a problem with skills and talents. So you are in a great time and you are on the best connection platform. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. Now,